Alex, I've spent 30 years convincing wood and steel to do what I want. I figured, how hard can it be to boss around some wet dirt?
Famous last words. I saw you looking at that bag of stoneware earlier, like it was a complex mathematical equation you weren't quite ready to solve.
It's humbling. In the wood shop, if I mess up, I've got a scrap bin. In the machine shop, I've got a digital readout. But with ceramics, it's just you, a spinning motor, and a lump of clay that has the structural integrity of a melted milkshake if you breathe on it wrong.
Welcome to the world of ceramics at the Makerspace. Today we are doing a deep dive into the mudroom. We're talking kilns, wheels, and why your first bowl probably looks like a collapsed souffle.
We're actually looking at the setup over at the Brooklyn Army Terminal Makerspace. They've gone all out. They've got these scut kilns, specifically the KM1231PK. That thing is a beast. Nearly 12 cubic feet of internal space. It's like a walk-in oven for art.
I'm more interested in the wheels. They've got Shimpos and Amakos, even a clay boss. For the uninitiated Tiger, is there a difference, or is it like arguing over Ford versus Chevy in the truck world?
Oh, it's exactly like that. Some folks swear by the whisper quiet motor on a Shimpo. It's smooth, like driving a luxury sedan. Then you've got the Amicos that feel like they'd survive a direct hit from a meteor. But the wheel is only half the battle. You've got to pick your clay body. They're offering brown, white stoneware, and porcelain.
Porcelain sounds fancy, like the fine china my grandmother used to hide in a cabinet and threaten us if we looked at it too hard.
Porcelain is the prima donna of the clay world. It's beautiful, translucent when thin, but it has a memory like an elephant. If you stress it out while you're throwing it, it'll wait until it's in the kiln to pull a told you so and crack right where you pinched it. For a makerspace, that white stoneware is the sweet spot. It's forgiving. It's the duct tape of clay.
So, walk me through the process. I walk into the studio, I've got my clay, I'm ready to be the next great artisan. What's the first thing I'm doing that's going to make a veteran like you cringe?
Wedging. Most people skip it or do it like they're kneading bread for a Sunday brunch. If you leave a single air bubble in that clay, you've essentially built a tiny clay grenade. When that moisture hits 212 degrees in the kiln, that air expands and bang. You've turned your beautiful vase into a collection of shrapnel that ruins everyone else's work on the shelf.
So it's not just my work at risk? I'm the shop pariah because I didn't push the air out?
Precisely. It's a community space. Your oops is everyone's disaster. But once you're wedged, you hit the wheel. The biggest hurdle? Centering. It's a physical wrestling match. You aren't just touching the clay, you're imposing your will on it. If you're timid, the clay knows. It'll wobble around like a flat tire on a gravel road.
I've watched you do it. You look like you're trying to move a boulder.
You have to use your skeletal structure, not your muscles. Brace your elbows on your thighs. Become a tripod. If you try to use your biceps, the clay wins every time. It's about being an immovable object against the spinning force.
Okay, so say I actually get it centered. I pull the walls, it looks like a cup, mostly. Then comes the part that feels like woodworking. Trimming.
That's where the maker brain really kicks in. You let the piece get leather hard, which is exactly what it sounds like, firm, but a little cold to the touch. You flip it over on the wheel and use sharpened steel loops to shave away the excess. This is where you give it a foot. It's the difference between a pot that sits on a table and a piece of art that floats.
And the Makerspace NYC setup has an extruder too. For those of us who aren't quite ready to wrestle the mud devil on the wheel, what's the move there?
An extruder is basically a giant Play-Doh factory for grown-ups. You shove a lung of clay in a tube, pull a long lever, and it squirts out a perfect hollow tube or a handle or a star shape. It's brilliant for hand building. You can make massive sculptural pieces by stacking these shapes. They've also got these big hand building tables. It's a bit more social. You aren't hunched over a spinning wheel. You're slab rolling, pinching, and coiling.
I saw their glaze list. Arabia blue, persimmon, Mexican green. It sounds like a spice rack. But there's a catch with the firing fees, right?
Yeah, and this is standard for a good makerspace. Bisque firing, the first trip through the flames, is usually included when you buy their house clay. But the glaze fire, that's where they charge by the cubic inch. 6 cents per inch at this spot.
So if I make a giant, hollow, useless sphere, I'm paying for all that empty air inside?
You're paying for the real estate in the kiln. That heat isn't free, and neither are the kiln shelves. It teaches you to be intentional. You don't just fire junk, you make sure it's worth the shelf space.
Let's talk about the kintsugi mentioned in some of those lakeside pottery resources. That's the Japanese art of fixing broken pottery with gold. Is that just a fancy way of saying I dropped it and I'm desperate?
It's actually a beautiful philosophy. It's the idea that the break is part of the history of the object. Instead of hiding the crack with superglue and a prayer, you highlight it. You use a lacquer mixed with gold powder. In the maker world, we're so obsessed with perfect that we forget that the mistakes often have the best stories.
I think I prefer the tiger method of just turning the cracked side toward the wall.
Hey, that's a time-honored tradition. But honestly, the most common mistake I see, and I've done this more times than I'll admit over a beer, is being too precious with the water.
Wait, I thought water was the lubricant. You need it, right?
You need it like you need oil in an engine, but if you flood the engine, it stalls. If you use too much water, the clay becomes tired, it loses its structural integrity, it turns into a puddle. You want just enough to keep your hands from dragging. If your pot starts looking like it's melting, you've basically given it a bath it didn't ask for.
What about the technical side? The hookah bowls or large platters mentioned in the lakeside tutorials. Those seem like level 10 boss fights.
A platter is a nightmare because of the surface area. As it dries, the edges want to dry faster than the middle. If you don't slow that down with some plastic or a damp towel, the tension will literally tear the plate in half. It's a game of patience. Ceramics is 10% doing and 90% waiting for things to dry at the correct speed.
So, for the person listening who's usually a 3D printer enthusiast or a woodworker, why bother with the mess? Why get the gray sludge under your fingernails?
Because there is no undo button, there's no Control plus Z. When you're at that wheel, you are feeling the physics of the material in real time. It forces a kind of focus that you just don't get when you're programming a CNC router. It's primal.
And the Makerspace NYC offers 24/7 access for studio members. Imagine being in there at 3 a.m., just you and a spinning wheel. That sounds either incredibly therapeutic or like a scene from a horror movie.
It's the best therapy there is. No screens, no notifications, just the centrifugal force and a bit of mud. And look, if you're a member there, you get access to the metal and wood shops too. That's the dream, making a hand-turned wooden lid for a ceramic jar you threw yourself.
It's the full maker trifecta.
Exactly. But here's the takeaway for today. Don't be afraid of the collapse. Every master potter has a wall of shame of melted pots. The clay is just borrowed from the earth. If you mess up, you can just drop it back in the bucket, add water, and start over.
Unless you already fired it. Then it's a mosaic project.
Then it's artistic gravel.
Thanks for the deep dive, Tiger. I think I'm ready to go ruin an apron.
Just remember, brace your elbows, watch your water, and for the love of all that is holy, wedge the air out of that clay. See you in the shop.